We are live, doing a YouTube live today. Just open forum. We're going to discuss all things dogs and dog training. As per usual, Uh, I will be open to reading the comments and questions. I don't guarantee that I'll answer all of your questions because some of the questions, to be honest, they get a little bit repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again, the same kind of question over and over again, and a little bit of cursory research and looking back through our YouTube catalog would easily answer your questions. So generally, I won't entertain those. But if it's something interesting, if it's something that I think will bring value to the discussion, then I'll happily talk about it. But we'll give people a couple minutes to start showing up on here. Hopefully, the sound is good and the audio is clear. Hello, hello. By the way, I am going to mention I'm really excited about this litter that I have on the ground right now. I haven't put it up on the website or anything, but it's my friend Jack's dog Ike, and the female that I have that is a niece. So she's out of Chico's brother, Taz. So it's Ike and Taz. Taz is bar none the best female I've ever had in terms of like working quality. Also, really good looking dog as well, and just a tough, driven female. And Ike is a tough, driven dog with good hardness and extreme prey. So I'm really excited. I think my next competition dog is in this litter. I've decided that I should probably start a puppy this year. And I think the next one, I want something kind of more along the lines of Chico for my next dog, but I would, of course, like it to carry my kennel name. So, as you guys know, Taz carries Chico's, blood because she's out of his full brother. Um, and incidentally, Chico's full brother, I like Chico's full brother a lot. He doesn't have the same training that Chico has, but he's a fantastic looking dog, and just as Chico is. So I think he carries those traits forward that I like so much about Chico. And I have his full daughter, so with a really nice mother line as well. So really excited to hopefully keep back one of those puppies for my next competition dog. Are there puppies available? Yeah, you can email us at info@shieldcanine.ca. From that litter specifically, there might be a female. There might be. You have to double check. Email info@shieldcanine.ca. As for a male, I'm not sure if there's a male. I can't speak to that. I mean, I definitely have one. A couple friends of mine have males from that litter. A couple friends of mine have females from that litter. So, you know, obviously, I didn't announce that litter because I kind of had most of those puppies already spoken for before the breeding even happened because people know the quality of those dogs. Hey guys, I see y'all jumping on here. Um, I'm taking your trainer's course in December, hoping you don't increase the price when you are on the world best podium. Well, you never know. If we win the world championship, I think I should increase the price on everything. But yeah, I mean, that's probably not. Do you have any advice on socializing a singleton pup? How hard on her should I be for really biting my other dogs? Scruffing her works for biting me, and she won't bite me, but not the other dogs. Yeah, so I've actually had a couple of singleton puppies. The funny thing is, I find with singleton puppies, they tend to be a lot more friendly for whatever reason. They're like very, well, not for whatever reason, it's because you're all they have, right? The people are all they have. If there's like any foster dogs or even just other pet dogs involved, that's all they have. So it kind of stands to reason that, of course, they would be a little bit more on the social side, and they're always seeking that social interaction. So every singleton pup I've ever had in my breeding career, and there's been a couple of litters where maybe a puppy has had to be separated from the rest for safety reasons, or B, just for whatever reason, was the only viable pup in the litter, and was been raised alone. I've seen it, I think, on 3 occasions, and in all cases the puppy was super social. Um, So, I know, contrary to popular belief, right? Everyone thinks a singleton pup is going to be like some kind of a maniac. Now, all puppies will harass other dogs. Usually, the other dogs will discipline them. Um, if the other dogs will not discipline them, then yes, it would fall to you to, if the puppy is being egregious, step in and mete out the necessary discipline. We got people from all over the world checking in. Fantastic. Zinny Zhu says, with the new puppy, can you share more videos, online course episodes on IGP tracking? Well, look, and Zinny, I think you are, you're in my trainer's course. So you have access to um, you have access to our power tracking course. So I'm going to literally do everything in that power tracking course. Will I video? Of course. I would never miss the opportunity to shoot content of a brand new dog that I'm developing because it's been a minute, obviously, since I've done that. It's been a couple years now. So I would definitely document that process. I shouldn't say a couple, it's been about a year. The last puppy I kind of did a lot of foundation work on was Bang. So it's been about a year. But I definitely will video if I take a puppy from this litter. Excited to get the power play course. Love your stuff, man. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. What's better? This is from LM Canino. What's better, choosing working line German Shepherd, male or female? Well, it depends on what you want, right? So if you want, you know, a harder dog, a bigger dog, maybe a stronger dog, well, then probably a male, right? If you want something that's a little bit easier to handle, then probably a female. I say probably because I speak in generalities. I've spent it many times. Does it make a difference between male and female? It 100% makes a difference. Testosterone makes a difference. So, all things being equal, if you're going to look at two dogs that have exactly the same genetic qualities as one another, and one dog has an excess of testosterone and the other one, is a female, so they still have testosterone, but not as much. Will it make a difference? Of course it will. So, definitely get the female if you're not so sure. So the reason females are fantastic in that some people are new to working dogs and they're not sure that they can handle one, and or they have a family and the family is going to all be involved, and they're just a little bit concerned about having, let's say, all that too much power. Well, the great thing with the females are, even if they're a little bit spicy, even if they're really really high drive, it's still a female at the end of the day. Much easier to deal with than a male, that would be in the same state. They tend to be more sensitive. They tend to be a little bit more pleasing, like they want to please you more. They're just easier to control and work with overall. But if you want, that kind of more tough, stronger, version of that breeding that you're interested in, then by all means get a male. But if I had the choice between a male from a breeding in which I did not like the blood and a female from a breeding in which I love the blood, so for instance, this breeding that I just did with Ike and Taz and the puppies that are on the ground now, if I could pick a female from that litter, and then let's say, some breeder down the road bred two random working line German Shepherds together and they had a male available, I wouldn't even look at it. I would take the female because the female from that would be better than that shitty breeding. So, all things being equal, right? And again, who's asking? Is it HAZ? Or, is it someone who's kind of just wanting to dabble a little bit in the hobby? They want a dog that's maybe a little bit more easy to handle, so on and so forth. So the question of male over female is not like just a binary answer. It totally depends on what you're looking for, what you want, what your family situation is. There's a lot of things that come into play. Do you already have a male? Do you already have a male? Well, could be a problem, right? Any thoughts on Ivan Balabanov's way of play versus yours? Um, I'm not privy to all the things that he's doing now, like everybody else, maybe 10 years ago, I've, seen his like training videos of play, so on and so forth. I'm not sure what he's doing now in relation to play, so I can't comment on it, you know. Um, so yeah, no, not really. How do you teach adult dogs to not harass other dogs when other dogs' correction don't work? Well, with adult dogs, I'm in control of the situation. So let's say I had four adult dogs living in this house. It's not a free for all where I let them just figure it out, right? Not unless it was like maybe a group of like Frenchies or Chihuahuas or something, then I'll let them figure it out. I don't really care. But when it's big, strong dogs and, some potential damage could occur, we need to be a little more cognizant of certain things. So usually, when harassing is occurring, it's because there's just a general lack of order, structure, and training in the pack. And so they're constantly kind of getting involved in minor competitions with one another for resources, space, toys, food, affection, all of these things. And those minor, the competition for all these like various resources can be very minor, very subtle. You don't realize it. It's a lot of it's happening with body language, so on and so forth. And then some of it can, obviously escalate to the point where you will definitely notice it and it can be very dangerous. So, when you have multiple dogs in the house, you need to be very aware of what the resources are. You need to be very aware that you need to be very cognizant of controlling access to those resources and ensuring the dogs are always in that kind of calm state of mind. And if they're not immediately addressing it, a lot of people wait until the explosion instead of addressing the precursors. The best example of this would be, so for instance, if I was concerned about a fire, right, I wouldn't wait until the fire occurred and try to put the fire out. I would look for all the fire hazards, right? Like, oh, like there's a open fireplace there, oh, someone's, leaving something hot on something flammable. All the various things that you would do to fireproof a place or to minimize the risk of fire, to prevent the fire from actually occurring. It's the same concept with managing a pack of dogs, right? You are always aware of the energy. Like, is there a lot of arousal? Are they moving around a lot? Is there a lot of wrestling? Is there a lot of excitement? Ooh, okay. Now we've got the preconditions for a fire, right? Arousal can sometimes escalate all the way into, aggression. Okay, we need to bring the arousal level down. People can't be this aroused. Or sorry, I should say the dogs shouldn't be this aroused. They should be calm here, right? They should be calm. Ooh, there's a little bit of, that wrestling over there is a little too intense. Oh, they're kind of competing for access to that bed over there. All of these things. When you want to keep, a dozen dogs or four dogs or even three dogs, this is the responsibility that comes alongside that, which is why, a lot of trainers choose not to do that because they know how much work it is. Personally, for me, I like to decompress when I come home. I do have I joke, I have 1.2 dogs in the house. And I say 1.2 because I count the Chihuahua as 0.2. And then I have Gage in the house, but I'm seriously considering bringing a puppy into the home. So, I'll be at 2.2 dogs soon enough. And the puppy that I bring in would probably be male. And if I was to bring that dog into the house, I still haven't decided 100% yet. All that responsibility of having two males in the house will be on me, and it'll be up to me to ensure that things go as well as they possibly can go. Which course should you buy to stop your dog from forging in the heel? The Elite Off Leash course. Soulstar says, I took her to Jerry Bradshaw and he said she was one of the best puppies he's seen in a while. I want to do IGP, but none of the clubs nearby will answer me. I don't want to do PSA, but IGP won't answer. Yeah, I mean, look, man, to be honest, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't waste time with a club. I wouldn't waste time with a club if you're serious about doing IGP in a serious way. Um, and what I mean by that is if you want to be successful in this day and age, success has been privatized. right? You got to pay to play. You got to pay to play. You want to be successful in IGP or in any dog sport, really. A club is not the solution. You need to pay to play. You need to find a private training group, a mentor, so on and so forth, that will work with you, that will give you the progressive work that you need in obedience, tracking, and protection to actually get you to the point where you'll be trial ready in some reasonable amount of time and then be able to excel in the trial situation. So I wouldn't even worry about clubs. Right now, if you want to get into a club and they're not answering you, well, I would look at number one, what are the clubs? Is this like a 30-year-old club with like 80-year-old members? Okay, well, they're probably not on the internet that much. Is this a club run by some well-known people? Okay, well, if they're well-known, right, and they're not answering you, it's because they don't think you're serious. You know what you do? Get some private sessions with the training director. Be like, hey, I'm interested in some private sessions. I'm going to pay you, and what we're going to do some. So let's say it's like some, I don't know, whoever, some a name in IGP, someone who has a name, who has some level of repute and respect in IGP. Then what you would do is you would get some private sessions with that individual, and then say, look, I'm serious about this. They will know you're serious about this because you paid money for the private sessions. They've seen the quality of your dog. They've seen your commitment to the training. And then when you inquire about access to the club, you might find them to be a little bit more receptive. Do we do seminars at our facility? Like to come and work my dog and learn? You're referring to a private session, sir? We do private sessions all the time. Braulio Rodriguez says, hey, HAZ, my 9-month-old Malinois shows good possession and play, but also some food aggression. I generally don't mess with him during meal times, just make him hold for a few seconds in front of his bowl. Yeah, I mean, look, it's some people will just put the dog in the crate and let the dog eat and wait till the dog is done. The problem is sometimes it can get worse to the point where it becomes even unsafe to take the dog out of the crate. It's all about what your personal, you know, let's say, acceptance of the food aggression is. For me, there is a minimum level where I want the dog to be able to, I'm not going to put my hands in the bowl or mess with him or anything like that. But at the same time, if I tell him to leave the bowl, he needs to leave the bowl. If I tell him to sit, he needs to sit. He can't be, being aggressive towards me while he's eating. Not that I'm hanging over his head, right? So there's a minimum level. There's a minimum level, and we have to be reasonable. So what that is for you, there's nothing I can tell you on this live to fix it. I have an online course on how to deal with resource guarding, so you're welcome to peruse that. But yeah. What type of training do I do? We do pet training, protection training, and we do dog sport. Those are the primary forms of training that we do. I'm glad you appreciated the advice. Javon says, hey, HAZ, bought DIY protection. I must say, great value for the money. Of course, that's the name of the game, baby. Value, value, value. Question, would a more inexperienced dog benefit from watching an experienced dog do boogeymans? Can they do the exercise together? Yes, they can, but you want to be sure that the dog is actually picking up on the fact that there's a bad guy there and not just barking at the other dog. Because sometimes when you get dogs all barking together, they actually start barking at each other and not barking at the target that they should be barking at. So just keep that in mind. But you can certainly use multiple. What's the word? Multiple dogs in order to kind of build them up. It's something that some people use. They'll tie out like a few puppies or young dogs together and then agitate them all at the same time, and they can definitely feed off of each other. What general knowledge that regular pet dog owner and average working dog owner should know? Ask. And by the way, to the person asking that question, not the question I just read, but another question that you're complaining that I didn't answer. There's a saying that goes, if you've got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. And I try to live by that. All right. What general knowledge that regular pet dog owner and average working dog owner should know? Ask. I don't know, man. Your question's too general. How do I increase food drive? You don't. Food drive is what it is. Now, if you want to increase the dog's likelihood to want to interact with the food, Obviously don't feed them from a bowl, feed them only in training. Um, do certain things like stimulate them to chase the food in your hand. Don't just like feed them, So basically, kind of mix a little bit of prey into the acquisition of the food, basic things like that. But fundamentally, like there are certain things you can do to increase the dog's willingness to work for food. But food drive is fundamentally what it is. Just like there are certain things you can do to increase a dog's willingness to work for a ball, but the true inner desire the dog has for that ball is what it is. And I know people find that hard to understand. And when you've worked with about 1,000 dogs, you'll understand it. So just take my word for it. Christina says, I bought your full program of videos, but I'm still having problems with the focus heel. I know I have time since he's 7 months. Yeah, he's a baby. But seems I can't get that prancing. He looks at me, but no frame. Yeah, because you're focusing on him looking at you. He's 7 months old. He's not strong yet in the body, right? So like when I say finding the frame, this is actually a term I stole from dressage. And this is where they teach the horse how to move using, the correct muscles, using his or her back, having the correct head carriage, so on and so forth. And what's understood in dressage, but often not in the dog world, is that it actually takes certain muscles and a certain level of strength and coordination to be able to move in such a way, okay? In such a pleasing way, that kind of floaty movement with all the extensions, so on and so forth. So when we teach a dog to find the frame, it's the same concept. We're building that up. What it sounds to me like you did was you kind of got the dog to look at you, and then you faded a lot of the help, and the dog's looking at you and walking next to you, but it doesn't have the movement you like. And it doesn't have the movement you like because you removed the support. So what do they do with the horses? They use, contact from the reins. They use their leg. They keep the leg on, and they don't ask the dog, or sorry, I should say the horse, to do it for longer than they think that horse, age appropriate, of course, and training appropriate, can do it for. And they slowly build the endurance and the strength of the horse up. It's the same with the dogs and the focus heel, right? I don't care if he can actually do it. I'm building the muscle, the strength, the understanding of how to move his body when I'm teaching a dog to find the frame. So something as simple as having my food lure there, that the dog is then bumping the food lure and working for the food, right? And he's using his contact of his nose on my hand, right? So he's feeling that contact and he's moving his body because I'm obviously luring him and keeping his head in such a way. And he's learning to move in that way. And we're slowly building a strength and endurance there. If you're just like, okay, you're looking up, let me remove my hand, you just look at me and walk next to me, of course it's going to look ugly, especially for a 7-month-old puppy. You need to spend a lot more time kind of supporting the dog in the movement and building the dog's muscles and comfort there, and the style. And then once the dog has a really good, consistent style with contact on your hand, you could use a stick for contact, whatever, then you can slowly fade the contact in and out and then ultimately fade the contact. How can most people utilize a harness at its full potential? I don't know. I don't really use harnesses. So, I mean, for me, it's kind of like not necessary at all. I'm following your reactivity and off-leash course, and my dog is good on the leash and doesn't react, but whines continuously when seeing dogs, even when he is not looking. Any tips? Yeah, I will punish the whining. You're not allowed to whine, right? Like, it depends. Let me be clear. Is the whining this constant, like, yeah, for sure, I punish it. No, don't do that, right? No, no. Or is it just a, and then quiet, and then just a little, you know? It's a little bit different. Sometimes you just need to wait for the dog to kind of normalize and calm down, and then it goes away. But if the dog's just constantly droning on, yeah, absolutely, punish that behavior. It's not a good mindset for the dog to be in. What's the thing that keeps you pushing when you feel demotivated, down, sick? What helps you grounded? Um, so if you're speaking about training dogs, I like training dogs. I enjoy it. I don't need. It's not like going to the gym or something where you're like, ugh, like I hate working out. I hate going to the gym. I still do it because I know that if I don't do it, there's some real health implications, right? But I don't enjoy it. I just force myself to do it. Training dogs is not like that. Training dogs, 9 times out of 10, is actually a very enjoyable activity for me, and I wouldn't really know what to do if I wasn't doing that. So it's not something that I have to kind of force myself to do. If you have to force yourself to do it, I would ask the question, well, why is it so unpleasant for me? Is it the way that I'm training? Is the way I'm training unpleasant and unenjoyable for me and for the dog? Um, is it that I don't believe in the outcome? The outcome isn't worth the work that I'm going through to get to that outcome. Okay, like these are all, questions that you need to ask, and then maybe you need to change some of those conditions in your training so that you actually enjoy it again. Any tips on dogs that like to chew on stuff? Yeah, don't let them if you don't want them to chew on it, that is. Hey, Haz, hope you're doing well. Bought a course that teaches a frame jump with using touchpads, sending back and forth. Is that what you recommend? I don't personally do it, but if that's what you want to do, by all means, go for it. What's the difference between IPO and IGP? IGP, AJ says he needs. Yeah, AJ, don't worry. Your puppy's in there, my friend. What's the difference between IPO and IGP? Nothing. IPO is just, they just keep changing the name for whatever reason. What do you think you've done to help your business grow that could benefit other small trainers? Well, if you take my trainer course, I go over all the business stuff. It's not just about how to train dogs, it's about how to run a dog training business. So that's what my training course teaches. So am I going to share all the stuff that's in there here? No. But fundamentally, my fundamental pieces of advice, and I did a free YouTube video on this, be really good at dog training. Have a plan for acquiring customers and letting people know what you do and how you do it. And if you're good at what you do and you're in a market in which there are customers, and that's big because I see a lot of people trying to train dogs professionally in places where I'm like, man, nobody's got any money around here. You're in the middle of like the boonies and there's no city for like 2 hours in any direction. I don't know how you think you're going to be successful because generally people that live in the country don't want or care about dog training because they can just literally let their dog out the back door and not worry about it. So where you're really going to get a lot of customers is obviously urban centers. But, other than those obviously common sense things, yeah, you're going to have to take the trainer's course if you want to see it. Am I going to make a course about IGP blinds and how to go about training the different? Yes, I will. I will. And I will talk about troubleshooting because I've done blinds a lot of different ways, and I have a way now of doing blinds that has given me the best blinds of my career, and all my dogs and anyone that trains with me, their dogs are generally smoking all the blinds. Nice, tight, checking every blind. Fantastic. Solo, how's your girl? Man, she's doing good. She's doing good. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Chico's collar, I did check it, and then I forgot to message you. He's 21 and a half inches at the neck. So if you want to make me that collar, by all means. That's Supreme Canine Collars. They offered me a collar for Chico, and I couldn't say no. But your girl's doing quite well. All the puppies are eating and growing, and they're looking great. What would be one of the most overlooked aspects in dog training, both pet and working world? That's a good question. What's one of the most overlooked? Planning for failure. Planning for failure, right? So, like, what I mean by that is everybody always just assumes that, okay, if I show my dog what to do, they will always do it. And they don't think enough about how the training will fail and why the training will fail, right? And the training will always fail. It's a guarantee. I don't care how motivated your dog is. I don't care how, cool your luring is or what it is that you've done to, make the dog do the X, Y, and Z. Your training will fail. There'll be something that causes the training to fail. And most people don't account for that in the foundation that they lay. And then when the training fails, they're kind of like, oh my God, like, I don't know what to do. Like, my dog just doesn't want to listen, because they didn't account for the fact that at some point their dog isn't going to want to listen, no matter how motivated they are, no matter how super awesome your training is. And accounting for failure and preparing for it in the foundation of your training so that you have the answer when your dog says no or when your dog, won't do something. That's something that I see people and handlers fail at constantly. And you have to address that in your training. Is there a course on your website that covers all the courses on your website? Yeah, that would be the gold membership, and that gives you access to every course in my library as well as any new course that I make. Good morning from the Philippines. Well, good morning to you. Nick Game says, nice to catch you on a live. Appreciate all the free information you post. Bought your book, and I was happy to learn how similar your system is to what I do. Lots of good tips. Awesome, man. Happy to hear it. Question is, this is from L10. Question, is it normal when I'm walking my 2-year-old Belgium to not engage when other dogs bark at him? It seems like he runs away even from female dogs. Well, it sounds like he's nervous about other dogs and, doesn't want to have any engagement with, doesn't want to engage with them in any capacity. That's what you're describing is an avoidance behavior if he's like trying to run away from them. Is it normal? I mean, fear is a normal condition that a lot of dogs, deal with. I would definitely prevent him from running away, but on the flip side, I wouldn't force him to engage with the other dog. You want to kind of neutralize him a little bit, get him out of that state of fear. Hey, bro, if you don't like my answer, why don't you go ask him? You hired the guy. Go talk to him. Don't talk to me about somebody you hired. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, man, you hire the dude. Like, go talk to him. Why should I speak about somebody else's business and what they're doing? My Rottweiler's hair is so thick, I can't make good contact with the e-collar. Bought the Dogtra titanium point. Still doesn't make a difference. Some people say trims down the neck hair. Any ideas? Yeah. Get the winged contacts and you should be good. If those aren't working, your e-collar's not on tight enough or simply too low. Rottweilers are well known for having very insensitive necks. So you might actually just be really, really low. Luke Dude says, I thought punishment was for removing behavior. How come you can't use it for general barking or resource guarding? You can certainly use it for barking. If I want to remove barking, why wouldn't I punish the dog for barking? For resource guarding, it gets a little tricky. I don't recommend generally positive punishment. Well, I mean, we've been over this many times, but positive punishment, if you're just going to kind of use it as a giant club for resource guarding, I wouldn't recommend it. Most people are going to screw that up. The dog's generally going to come to the wrong conclusions, and you're going to create a lot of avoidance and fear. It's not that I don't ever do it. It's that I'm very surgical with it, and it's not the first thing that I do, right? And again, if you take my resource guarding course, you'll know all the things that I do. But yeah, if you just think, oh, I'm just going to punish him anytime he resource guards, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. Okay, that's random guy says, love your content. How do you fix a 7-month-old dog whose grip shifts slightly to the side as they counter in? Forward leash pressure on the collar and relieving the pressure when he counters straight. Depends. Like if he's very slightly to the side, he probably doesn't even know that he's doing it. And the more pressure you apply, the more, let's say, confused the dog might get. If it's a real big adjustment to a side, then I'll wait till the dog readjusts big in a direction, and I'll choke them all the way off, make them miss a few times, and put them back where I want them to be. And then they'll learn, hey, like every time you move over to that wrong side, you basically get choked off the grip, and always from the decoy, right, pulling forward on a slip. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they learn, oh, okay, if I stay there, it's a good place, right? Some people also do things like they put the plastic guards on their bite suit to prevent the dog from migrating. Again, there's very minimal migrations of like, an inch, a half inch where the dog's like, or there's like big, like 5 to 6 inch migrations. And those are the ones where I'll generally address it. How do I teach the A-frame? I teach it in a very simple way. I teach the dog to run up the A-frame one side and down the A-frame the other. You know what I mean? It's really not complicated. The A-frame for me is like the easiest thing to teach. I literally just I'll use like a ball or food in my hand, get the dog to jump up one side and lure him down the other. And then I'll like, once I get them kind of jumping on their own, they'll jump up one side, and as they come down, they'll see me standing right at the bottom. So they're not going to be tempted to like try to jump over my head. They'll come right down and take the reward from like right between my legs, and then we just kind of build out from there. Lori Matthews says, "Hi, Has, love watching you work with your dogs." Thank you, Lori. Brittany says, "I apprentice with a trainer that pulls up on dominant collars when 20-month-old Belgian Malinois bites collar. My observation is the dog likes the game, even if it means losing is getting choked." Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that kind of are trying to do one thing and accomplish something else. I can't speak to it because obviously I haven't seen it. But yeah, okay. Landry says, "I'm not into dog sports, but your new IGP series on YouTube is fascinating and very entertaining." Yeah, that was kind of like my pilot of it. I'm gonna really try, and we're gonna try and refine it. So obviously we have another competition coming up, the Canadian Working Dog Championship, and we're actually all leaving for that in less than a week. So we kind of learned a lot of lessons from the first one. So we're going to try and improve the series every time we do it. And we're going to kind of try and document all the championships and trials that we go to this year. So, hopefully we got 4 more for you. But I'm glad you enjoy it. And the whole point of it is for people to understand and see dog sport for what it is, see how enjoyable it can be, how challenging it can be, how heartbreaking it can be, and how exciting it can be. Let's see here. Victor says, "Hi, Has, elite member here. I'm following the off-leash course and everything is going better than expected. However, I'm struggling to get the pup to settle in the home. Can you talk about this?" Yes, sir. You need to utilize the place command. Stop allowing the dog to rip around the house. Utilize the place command. Utilize the kennel. Get the dog into the mindset that there is no excitement in the house. There is no arousal in the house. The house is a place for calm. Anytime you notice the arousal, immediately put the dog into one of those 2 places and get the dog to calm down. Christina says, "Thank you. Congratulations with Chico. Hope Gage gets better." Thank you, Christina. Let's see here. Luke Dew says, "What's the best way to get motivation from a dog with low food drive or ball drive? Dog doesn't want to train, basically." Well, my question is, what are you trying to accomplish, right? If your hope is to do, dog sport with that dog, well, I would say that's not a dog for dog sport if he doesn't want food or he doesn't want a ball. If your goal is to train the dog to be a pet, well, good news. Everything can be done with negative reinforcement. You don't need positive reinforcement. So if he's not willing to work for the positive reinforcement, then get him going for the negative reinforcement. And oftentimes, here's a little trick for you guys. When dogs refuse to play and when dogs refuse to eat, oftentimes when you introduce negative reinforcement training to the dog and you start showing the dog everything with negative reinforcement, aka pressure and release, what happens is you'll find that when you start offering rewards a few days into that process, the dogs will become actually significantly more motivated to take the reward. Go figure. Let's see here. John Neal says, "My GSD has fingertip leash pressure and knows her commands. She just turned 5 months. I'm working towards off leash. I already have a mini educator. Is your puppy bundle information about e-collars?" No, my puppy course does not include e-collars or prong collars. My puppy course is primarily motivational. We do go over leash pressure and such, but I don't really recommend tools like that for puppies unless you really, really are a master of using them, which obviously people on the internet aren't. And there's nothing wrong with self-education, but it's best to it sounds like your dog's 5 months old. So once your dog's 6 months old, you can start the Elite Off Leash course. And my Elite Off Leash course goes over how to properly use the e-collar as part of a training system. Do I cover training deaf dogs? Not in my courses, just because obviously there's not too many people with deaf dogs. But it's definitely something that I've done sessions on. Happy Men's Mental Health Month. Though this applies year-round. Remember, you're important. It's okay to ask for help. Who's this? No matter how it feels. Well, thank you, your local menace. I feel great, but I think maybe there's some other people, I don't know, that need the Men's Mental Health Month or whatever nonsense. Man, that's all horseshit. a men's mental health month or whatever. You don't need a freaking special month. Here's the key, right? And this is going to be controversial. This is a dog training channel, so I probably shouldn't be saying this. Um, Here's what you need to do. You need to be a decent human being, not be a piece of garbage. You need to get up every day, do what you need to do. You need to exercise your body, okay? Because if you don't exercise your body, your mind and your body are inherently linked to one another. And you don't have to be in great shape or anything, but you do need to be in some kind of shape, which a lot of people aren't. You need to not eat junk food, right? So what you put in your body and what you do with your body matters, and it'll directly affect your mind. And then you need to do things that challenge and stimulate you. So obviously everybody has well, I shouldn't say everybody has a job, but a lot of people have jobs, and sometimes those jobs aren't challenging and stimulating. Believe me, I know, because I worked one for about 10 years when I worked for the city of Toronto, and I didn't find the job in general to be challenging or stimulating. And so you must seek things outside of that work in order to be challenged and stimulated, because men are designed to be challenged and stimulated. You could argue that all humans are, but I think especially men, just from a biological standpoint, from an evolutionary biology standpoint, are designed to be stimulated mentally and physically in certain ways. You need to put yourself under appropriate stress, preferably on a daily basis or on a somewhat regular basis. The more you avoid stress, the more stress will find you, right? So you need to find that stress. You need to seek the problems, just like dog training. Those people that try to always hide their dog from all the things that the dog is scared of, right? Guess what? The dog gets worse and worse and worse, because that's not a natural thing to do, right? So exercise body, eat healthy, seek out things that are challenging and stimulating. Try to be a decent human being to other people, to animals. I assume you guys are all on here with dogs. So, I mean, dogs are a fantastic way to exercise your decency and also to enjoy the world. And this one probably going to be the most, people probably are going to disagree with this one the most, because we live in that kind of society. But you need to believe in something, right? You need to believe in God. There's a lot of people out there, they don't believe in God. And, when it feels like there's no one there for you and all hope is lost, and I think a lot of people go through stages in their life where that occurs, you need to have something to believe in and something to reach out to. And if you don't have that in your life, I get why a lot of people, unfortunately, choose to harm themselves if they don't have that, because it's like, oh, what's the point? Yeah, you don't believe in anything. But, I would argue, and this is going to be the last thing I say on this topic before we jump back into dogs, that if you are a logical human being that truly understands the world, not truly understands, but has some level of appreciation and understanding for the world in which we live and the greater universe in which we live, how could you not believe in God? Anyways, back to dogs. What's the psychology of punishment not being good for guarding? Surely it's the same as any other bad behavior. No, it's not the same as any other bad behavior, because resource guarding is based on the inherent belief that the dog has that you are competing for the resource. So if the dog believes you're competing for the resource and you apply an aversive to the dog when the dog acts out that belief that you are in competition with him or her for the resource, you're only confirming for the dog that you are indeed competition for the resource. Now, just because you overwhelmed them and basically got them to stop or back down doesn't mean that you didn't now just prove to them that you are indeed competing with them for that resource. So think about that, right? Is that really the healthiest way to deal with that? Now, I'm not saying that there's no time for the positive punishment in the context of addressing resource guarding, but generally speaking, that's not the first approach. Arm Day every day, love the name. Yo, HAZ, how do you harness a dog's intensity and drive from when it's in the backyard and move it over to the front yard? So on and so forth. Man, I don't know what you mean. Are you talking about like, oh, like my dog's excited in the backyard and I want him to be excited in the front yard? Well, why is he excited in the backyard? Ask yourself that. Is there something that he's getting in the backyard that's not present in the front yard, right? Is it that maybe your backyard is fenced and your front yard isn't? Whenever someone says, oh, my dog is this way at home, but it's not this way out of the home, I always say, well, what are the preconditions that exist in your home that don't exist out of your home? And when you understand and appreciate those things, then maybe you can begin to address why your dog doesn't maybe do what you want in one place over another. Hey, HAZ, Spencer says hi. Hey, Spencer. Let me say, oh, okay, armed every day. You elaborated, I say. For instance, there's a dog that I'm about to start training. He has an immense amount of intensity to drive. However, when we get in the front yard to walk, he's a bit, okay, so you answered that question. Yeah, he becomes nervous and unsure, right? So if he becomes nervous and unsure, how can he be excited to play? Right? So the first thing you must address is his nervousness and unsureness. Now, could this be a function of you just exposing him more to the environment and getting him comfortable? Or could this be like we've got to do some behavior modification here? I've said this before, I'll say it again. The way that dogs process emotions, like a dog's emotions and what a dog does are like this. They cannot be separated. A lot of people are like, oh, you just controlled what the dog's doing. You didn't control the emotion. It's like, no, dummy. Those two things are the same, right? Dogs act out how they feel. And when you control how they act, you can change how they feel. So, for instance, the more I allow a scared dog to hide and to run, the more afraid the dog will be. The more I negatively reinforce the dog into alternate behaviors that is not running and hiding and basically other forms of other behavioral manifestations of fear and avoidance, the more the dog will slowly begin to stop being as afraid, right? And then now we open the door to other things where we can maybe introduce play, prey, so on and so forth. Ariana Tonti says, if IGP allowed Ecollar during practice on the trial field like they do in PSA, do you think your performance in the trial would improve even more, or would this mess with your current trial prep plan? Well, there are some trials where we are allowed to practice on the field, not in the official practice, but before the official practice with the tools. And then, of course, at World Championships, we are not allowed to do that whatsoever. So would it improve? Yes, for sure it would improve. But, again, you just have to address it in your training. And for some dogs, it makes more of a difference than others, right? Crystal says, sorry if this is a repeat. Prior comment. I do AKC obedience, need help with healing, but have to do the silly arm. Can you help in virtual privates with that? Love your content. Oh, you mean you got to put your arm on your chest? I believe the AKC people, like, they do this with their hand the whole time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely we can help you with that. Tones the Savage says, sorry, I didn't mean to say A-frame. I meant to say hurdle. How do I teach that? I mean, it's a whole process. I'm not going to go into it on this, but I don't use touch pads for it. But fundamentally, I just widen the jump, and I teach the dog to jump wide and to extend their body before actually raising the height of the jump. How do I train out excitements and barking before walks? Well, I punish the dog for barking. Don't bark. There's no reason to bark. I know some people allow their dog to bark incessantly all times. I just don't do that. What got you into dog training, and what's your favorite cigar? I don't have a favorite cigar, but I like most things Nicaraguan, light and smooth. Not I don't like the dark, heavy stuff. What got me into dog training was a hobby. I enjoyed it. It was fun for me. Remember how I said it's important to do challenging and stimulating things. Maybe if your job isn't offering you that as an outlet, dog training was that for me. Gatsuya said, congrats on Chico. Really motivates to see your work, man. Lately been thinking a lot about competing in IGP in Spain with my dog. He's been showing great drive and control. Any suggestions where to start? You must find a team or a training group, a mentor, and you must train with them. Right with you until the religious talk. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of godless people out there. I feel for you. Hopefully you find them at some point, but if you don't, you don't. There's been a lot of discussion and debate about Lucas's performance in the last trial since you released the video. Did you gain any new revelations from the Backlash, or is your mind unchanged? Is my mind unchanged that PSA is full of a bunch of corrupt scrubs? No. But I'll say this, you know, was there backlash? Of course there was backlash. There were only two possibilities with that video. Okay? Possibility number one, you agree with me. In which case, if you know what's good for you in the corrupt sport of PSA, you keep your mouth fucking shut. Okay? Possibility number two, you don't agree with me and you see it as an opportunity to curry favor with the higher ups at PSA, so that next time you step on the trial field, maybe they'll remember that you said those mean things to HAZ, and we don't like HAZ. So you have to go and give your 2 cents. Listen, I'll say again what I said to all of those people. All right. And yes, I know there's good trainers in PSA and there's good people in PSA, as there are in all walks of life. But I believe that the judging is corrupt. I believe that the judging is full of inconsistencies that are unforgivable, and unfortunately will not allow somebody who's serious about training and competing, as I am, to ever meaningfully participate in it. Because why would I ever waste the time and the money, right? But fundamentally, I will say this. If you want to lecture me about handler help and strictness of obedience, just understand who you're talking to. And I know, oh, look, he's so arrogant. Yeah, okay, I'm arrogant. I compete at the world level in IGP. That's my level. That's what I do, okay? That's where I go. That's not PSA. PSA is something else. It is not IGP. So almost anybody on the internet that's a reasonable, logical person would agree that IGP has the strictest level of obedience and the strictest level of judging. That's my world. That's where I'm coming from. That man did not handle or help his dog in the healing. That's it. And for you to say that, and for you to give him mid-70s, just shows, either a level of incompetence or a level of corruption that to me would be unacceptable to ever submit myself to. So I said what I said. They can take it. They can leave it. They can complain about it, but it is what it is. And, I can talk, but my dogs and my training also talk. All right, let's see here. Battle Buddy, Canine. Oh, this is Jeremy. Man, do you believe it has already been a year since I was up there? When is your next trip to the States? Man, soon, I hope. I'm not going to give exact dates, but I think in the fall. In the fall, yes. The lives are. I'm happy the lives are appreciated. Guys, I'm not going to get more into religion. That's not why people are here. I said what I said. I believe what I said, and that's it. When training a dog, functional obedience that has previously had terrible experience with the E, do you do anything different with the E than you described in the off-leash course? No, but I might start tapping the dog prior to positive reinforcement so that the dog starts to associate the E with more than just you're wrong. If the dog already had a bad experience with the Ecollar, aka someone used it incorrectly, ham-handedly, so on and so forth, the application of the E for only when the dog is wrong is only going to continue to facilitate that negative emotion. So you need to neutralize the E. It's kind of like a dog who only perceives hands come when they're bad. So let's say somebody only would smack the dog, and that was the only way they ever touched the dog, right? So now, of course, whenever hands come, the dog's going to do one of those. The dog's going to go overreact, right? So what you need to do is you need to neutralize. Yes, the hands can do this. The hands can do this, right? The hands can do a lot of different things. It's not just a bad thing. And the E must be the same. How would you advise someone getting into dog sport? You motivated me to think about starting. Well, you must get the right dog and you must get the right training. So I said it 1,000 times. If you want to learn to do something, you must find a coach, find a mentor, find a training group, and you must follow a progressive plan with these people. Dog sport is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For me, I'm a serious competitor. That's my thing. I get off on winning. That's what I want to do. For other people, it's more about the social experience, doing something fun with their dog, enjoying the presence of other dogs and other handlers, and that's totally fine too. So what it is that you're looking for will determine the path that you go down in terms of the way that you're going to chase it, get involved in dog sport. Do I do pre-orders on specific puppies if you want a puppy from a specific dog? Unless that dog is actually in a planned breeding, no. If it's a planned breeding, then yes. You know, there's been a bunch of people that are like, I want a puppy from Chico and I'll only take a puppy from Chico. I'm like, fair enough, but you know, I don't know when I'm going to breed him because he's a DM carrier and most of my females are DM carriers. So things have to line up, right? Is there a minimum age for a pinch collar to teach the place command? Loose leash walking and formal recall on the leash. I have a 6-month-old. Yeah, 6 months. Get started. You can get started as long as, again, you know what you're doing. It's not really about the age. It's about what are you doing, right? Any tips for starting a dog in muzzle fighting? Yeah. Make sure that the dog is super conditioned to the muzzle where they're not trying to tear it off all the time and they're just very comfortable in it. And once they're comfortable in it, get them willing to play ball with the muzzle on. And when they're willing to play ball with the muzzle on, then you can introduce it to muzzle fighting. Hey, HAZ, love the content. Well, thank you. Trenton says, HAZ, when working my dog in protection, he does great on the ground. When it comes to bite work and power, when I put him on the table, he seems to lose the power. Have you ever seen that before? Yeah, your dog's probably afraid of the table, right? So you need to get the dog up on the table, get the dog moving around the table and very comfortable up there, not put the dog in a place where he feels like he's fighting for his life and he also is worried about falling off the table. So that's why table work is something, you know, somebody, whoever's doing it should really know what they're doing, be able to evaluate the emotional state of the dog on the table and determine what the dog needs, you know, there. Yeah, the power on the table shows up when you work him in defense, which is a reactive mindset. But when it comes to prey, he doesn't seem to be interested on the table. Yeah, because defense is a reactive mindset, right? When you are threatening him, he's reacting to your threat. Prey is a proactive mindset. So if he's worried about the table, yeah, he'll do what's necessary to protect himself up there. But afterwards, he's like, well, I'm definitely not going to be proactive. I don't feel comfortable to be proactive. How would I go about finding a good dog in the UK? Well, I would simply look up, what's the word? I would look up whatever sport you're interested in and see who's doing it in a meaningful and successful way. See what dogs they're using and, you know, kind of follow the yellow brick road all the way to the breeders that are likely to produce a dog that's going to be able to get you what you want. Ashley Wheat says, got a rescue Mel, spent the money on your Elite Gold program. Now I have an off-leash, well-behaved dogs. Thank you for the great instruction. I'm very happy for you, Ashley. Congratulations, and I hope you continue to enjoy your Malinois. Manson Devil says, HAZ, will you ever release an online decoy course on how to safely catch dogs or even a protection problem-solving course? Well, my Protection Foundations course kind of goes over all those things. Am I still boxing? Yes. Yes, I am. Do you start every sort, behavior, hurdles, dumbbells, A-frame as a puppy? And if not, when do you start teaching what? No, I don't start jumping as puppies. Usually the dog's at least a year old before I start any kind of jumping. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Looks like we're kind of winding down. We hit about an hour here, and it was nice talking to all of you. Hope you guys, if you haven't had a chance, check out the what's the word? My God, my dog sport series, episodes 1 through 4, and I hope you enjoy the series. And I think, oh, we have one more question here. I took your IGP tracking videos and applied it to tracking deer. He kills it. Lots of power and drive. Awesome, Trenton. I'm happy to hear it. When are you going to be able to see my horses again? Very soon. Very soon. I can get my Malinois female to bite, but not with aggression. How can I build the drive? Great temperament, dominant female, very confident, socialized in all environments. Yeah, man, like it's not really something I could tell you on a live. There's so many variables involved in bite work and why a dog might or might not be doing something. So You know, it's one of those things I just couldn't tell you in the live, you know, like I have to see the dog, see what's going on. Anyways, guys, awesome. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Check out the online courses, shieldcanineonline.com, and I hope you all have a fantastic weekend.